Ready to start?
Yes.
Okay. You can read the next paragraph.
ومن الإيمان بالله الإيمان بما وصف به نفسه في كتابه العزيز وبما وصفه به رسوله محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم من غير تحريف ولا تعطيل ومن غير تكييف ولا تمثيل بل يؤمنون بأن الله ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. Part of the belief in Allah is the belief in how He has described Himself in His book, the Quran, and in how His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has described Him. Believe without distorting or denying and without questioning or shaping. Rather believe in Allah the Exalted. There is none like Him. He is the All-Hearer, the All-Seer.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. Here, rahimahullah, start by talking about the first pillars, and this is the most important one because of the debate that taking place in his time was so strong, and the deviation was very clear in this area, which is in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes. He said part of believing in Allah is to believe in what He have described Himself with. So, as we said, believe in Allah contains three types of Tawhid. The Tawhid al-Rububiyyah, which is Allah is the Lord, the Creator, the Sustainer, the Provider. The Tawhid al-Uluhiyyah, which it means Allah is the one who basically worship, deserve to be worshipped. And the third one, the Tawhid of al-Asma' wa-Sifat, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the oneness of Allah when it comes to His names and attributes. And I said to you before, these three is not something new. Ibn Rajab, Ibn Abdul Barr, Imam Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, and Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah is the one who emphasizes on this a lot later on in his life. And we're not strict to just to help you to classify. It's like when I say this, you define the ilm al-lugha al-arabiyyah to different branches, define the science of usul fiqh to ahkam wad'iyyah. Any kind of classification is not meant for itself, it's just to help you to understand the concept. I don't care, you make them three, you make them two, you make them one. Because there is people have allergy from this classification. You know, anytime they see, three, this must be wrong. You know, they're so allergic to it. I said, why are you so sensitive? You know, the scholar used many different expressions. Sometimes they classify the Tawhid to two types. Ilmi, khabari, and amali, fi'li. They said it's a believing, something that you believe in, and that will include the rububiyyah and the asma al-sifat. Or actions, which it means your act of worship that you have to do to Allah. So people have different perspectives of how they classify the Tawheed. The main thing is to cover all this area. And Tawhid al-Sifat, Tawhid al-Asma al-Sifat, Ibn Hazm rahimahullah claimed that this Sifat is an invented word. He said this word as-Sifat has no base for it in Sharia or in Islam. And that's part of his exaggeration. If there is, Ibn Hazm rahimahullah is a great scholar, yes, but when it comes to Aqeedah, he was not very successful or very he was basically not according to the way of Ahlus-Sunnah at all when it comes to the way he believed in the nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His attributes. He's a very extreme towards the Mu'tazila sides. They were very popular in his country at that time. Ghafarallahu lah. There's a lot of weird stuff, like he believes all Allah's names and attributes only have one meaning. So all the names and all the attributes has one meaning. Everything has only one meaning, ilm, knowledge. So mercy, love, everything, it means knowledge. It's a very strange belief. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about him, but what I'm trying, he's mentioned something that some people modern days adopted, said, where do you get this sifat from? Is there any base? Is the scholar used that? Yes, absolutely. You know, this term's used by the ulama before. Al-Imam al-Nasa'i has Bab al-Nu'uti wa sifati lillah. Al-Bukhari has a chapter, Sahih al-Bukhari, about Allah's sifat. Al-Nasa'i has a chapter about as-sifat. It's that the term, the word as-sifat is a very common name. You know, قال إنها صفة الله. It is the صفة, the example or the description of Allah. And being so picky on the word, I have to bring evidence for this terms. This is not even a right way. Terms are terms, like classification. I can make my own terms. As long as the meaning is acceptable, it is acceptable. Are you following? We don't fight over terms. We don't fight over classification. What we fight over, what that term means, what the term indicate, what that classification lead to. Yes?
This argument also comes to the fact that a lot of people agree that streamline everything back to what the Quran and Sunnah has. They claim it's basically begin to bring new terms, stuff like that, and that it brings more diversion and stuff like that. So, yes, how do you respond to
The diverging comes of the terms represent anything other than what the Quran and Sunnah says. But if it is what the Quran and Sunnah says, it is acceptable. Because it's just representing and organizing what's in the Quran and the Sunnah. And make it appeal to people. And instead of you because not everybody have the command over the Arabic language of the tools of usul fiqh to understand everything in it. So you just make it simple and clear. That's why we only judge the meanings. And if the wording carry good meaning and bad meaning, we reject the word and say, hey, I can't take that word. You have to use a term that is acceptable. But these concepts are exist. And the word as-sifat is in the Quran and Sunnah. In the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, قال هي صفة الله. In regard to, قال صفة الرحمن قل هو الله أحد. Why do you love to recite this verse? قال, it is the description, the sifa of Allah. So the word is known, it's not something new as Ibn Hazm claimed. That's just the lack of his knowledge of the Sunnah. Otherwise, it is exist. It's like some people said, At-Tawhid, this word is invented by you guys. No, as I said earlier, it is فَأَهَلَّ بِالتَّوْحِيد in Sahih al-Bukhari. The word At-Tawhid literally used. You see what I'm saying? So even these words are, and that's why Ibn Taymiyyah said, every word here, it has a backup in the Quran and Sunnah. So even literally the word is that term used in the Quran and Sunnah. Anyway, then he said, rahimahullah ta'ala, to believe in what Allah wasafa bihi nafsahu fi kitabihi al-aziz, what Allah described himself in his book, okay, and what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam have described him with. You know, everybody, all these groups, all these sects through history agree on this word. All of them said, we describe Allah with what he described himself and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam described him with. That statement is a very general and everybody agree with it. That's why Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah followed up with a guidelines, followed up with something basically to show the reality of this belief. What this believes in what Allah said in the Quran and what the Prophet said in the Sunnah exactly means, how it can be applied in the correct way. He followed that by saying, من غير تحريف ولا تعطيل, is to believe in it without tahrif. What does the word tahrif means? How he translated it here? What is it? Distorting. Distorting the meaning. At-tahrif comes in Arabic language from the word inharafa, which it means he basically apart. Yeah, out of order. Very good. When you basically go apart or you leave or basically you go out of order. So tahrif, it is when you make a change as well. And this tahrif, when you basically go offline, when you when you destroy, twisting, okay? Very good. All these meanings are something the Quran spoke about when he criticized some of the Jews before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, مِنَ الَّذِينَ هَادُوا يُحَرِّفُونَ الْكَلِمَ عَمَّ مَوَاضِعِهِ. Among the people of among the Jews, يُحَرِّفُونَ الْكَلِمَ عَمَّ مَوَاضِعِهِ. They will change. They will distort is the best way, that's right. Distort the words from its place. distort the words from its place. Its place either refer to that you literally come to a verse and you switch it. You change it literally. You play with the word. You give another word. Like when the Jew, they were ordered to enter the city and they say what? Hitta. Allah told them say hitta. So they said what? Hinta. Or habba fi sha'ir. Okay? They said either this one or that one. Hinta. They chose hitta to what? Hinta. They changed the word. And Allah criticized them. يُحَرِّفُونَ الْكَلِمَ عَنْ مَوَاضِعِ. They changing the words of Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said something and they distort the meaning. Distorting the meaning by either changing the words to another word or by adding something to the text or taking something from the text or twisting the meaning of the word. So it will completely have what? Completely different meaning. For instance, they said, I'll give you a true story first. There is a great scholar in Arabic language, Abu Amr ibn al-Ala. He is a famous Qari for the Quran, one of the Qurra of the Quran. One of the Jahmiyyah is a group of people who deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and they rejected the idea that Allah speaks at all. So one of them said to him, I will pay you a lot of money. I will give you a lot of money if you agreed to recite this verse in a different way. What verse? He said to him. He said the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. You guys know Arabic a little bit? وَكَلَّمَ, Allah spoke. Musa, Allahu is the fa'il, is the one who did the action of talking. That's why it's fi dhamma. Musa is the one who Allah talked to. But because Musa has alif maqsura in the end, we don't put tashkeel, we don't put fatha dhamma. So okay, muqaddara we call that. Taklima, he spoke to him. So he said, I will pay you a good amount of money if you read this verse, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهَ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. You read it, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهَ, not Allahu. What's the difference? If you say fatha instead of dhamma, it became Musa talked to Allah. You just change that tashkeel from fatha, from dhamma to fatha, the meaning completely distorted. You basically change the meaning from Allah talked to Musa to be what? Musa talked to Allah. He asked him to do that. Then he said to him, if I do that, what you will do with the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَكَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ. His Lord spoke to him. How can he twist this? And this one, okay, we can go away with it. But this one, you're stuck. There's no way to play around. This is very explicit. So that an example of twisting distorting the meaning by changing the words. And this has happened in certain texts, in certain group of people. They said that there is things actually in the Quran they try to add to it or to take away from it. And there is examples like this in history of sects of certain group try to do that. Some of the famous people who tried to do that in certain time in history, some of the Shia groups. Anyway, others try to distort the meaning, but distort the verse and changing the verse of Allah and make tahrif, change to the Quran, okay, by making change to the meaning. So the verse, he transfer it from one meaning to completely another meaning. I heard this with my own ear from somebody. He told me that he and his shuyukh believe that this verse, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab, that Abu Lahab is Abu Bakr. He said there's never going to be the Prophet uncle. None of the Prophet uncle will go to hellfire. So he didn't change the actual word, but he completely twists the verse. You see him say? So here, this is basically twisting the verse completely. That destroyed the verse by changing the meaning. Another person came, and that's in Tafsir al-Safa and others, they will say, and this is known to be for the Jahmiyyah, they said, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. They said, كَلَّمَ اللَّهُ, it means, comes from the word كَلَّمَ, it means what? Talk, spoke to, صح? Kalam, I talk. They said, nah, it means كَلَّمَ مِنَ الْكُلْمِ. Al-kulm in Arabic language means wound. يقول كلمني لما كلمني. He basically wounded my heart when he talked to me. Okay, so in the Arabic, kulm, it means wound. So they said it means Allah wounded Musa with his wisdom. What? قال كلمه يعني جرحه بأنامل الحكمة تجريحا. What kind of nonsense is that? So what you see here is complete distortions of the what? Of the verse. They basically changed that verse completely to completely something that it is irrelevant. Similar to that, they came and they said, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-Arsh istawa. They said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, Ar-Rahman above his throne. People said, no. Istawa, it means istawla. Allah took over his throne. How come, where's the throne was before to Allah for to take it over? That's why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he said, نون اليهود ولام جهمي كلاهما في القرآن زائدتان. They said hinta, they added noon, switch hitta to noon with hinta, and he said these stawa, they made stawla, they add lam too. So the lam and the noon are similar. All of them is basically changing to the Quran, changing the meaning of the Quran. So here all this tahrif is unacceptable. So the tahrif to the words or to the meaning is not what? Acceptable. Also, he said after that, وَلَا تَعْطِيل. And without ta'til. And he saying ta'til is denying. Okay? Ta'til, it means when it's something empty. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَبِئْرٌ مُعَطَّلَةٌ. يعني it's an empty well. Ta'til, it means takhliya, which it means something empty. So when you empty the words from its meaning, or you make it meaningless, you're rejecting it. So for example, you say, I reject that ayah, I reject that concept, I reject that rule. That's ta'til, complete rejection. Or you free it and you take away the meaning out of it. That's why at-ta'til in all format is rejected. For example, at-ta'til is to deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes. In a sense, you strip him away from it. That's why the ulama said, Al-mu'attil ya'budu adama. The person who have ta'til, that's who basically deny, he worship nothing. Because he deny everything. Can you imagine? What's your name? Muhammad, I know you guys in friends in Pearland, that's right? Okay. If one day kida you became humble and go down to earth and come to visit us in Clear Lake. Okay. Okay. So in Clear Lake, okay, we have this interesting tree. This tree has no color and has no branches, has no leaves, has no shade, has no taste, has no fruit, has no size. What do you think of that tree? What would you, does it exist? No. If you keep saying it's not, it means something you're just imagining a tree in your head, but it cannot exist unless it has what? An actual description. So the same thing, some people came to Allah and they said, oh, Allah, He's not alive. Allah has no knowledge. Allah has no mercy. Allah has no sam. He doesn't hear anything. He doesn't see anything. So every single description in the Quran they denied. But what about existence? They said even His existence does not exist. He is only exist in the mind, but not real existence. So in the end of the day, what those people made Allah? Non-exist. Adam. That's why ulama rahimahullah said that al-mu'attil ya'budu adama. In the end of the day, you worship someone who does not exist. And al-mumathilu ya'budu sanama. The one who basically make Allah similar to His creation, he ended up worshipping an idol. Because he said Allah similar to His creation. But we are still in the first part. So this ta'til, it is basically to reject the names and the attributes. Like for example, the Jahmiyyah, they said Allah have never taken Ibrahim Khalil. They reject that. Allah never talked to Musa. Reject that. That ta'til, denying. Straightforward. Mu'tazila, the Mu'tazila, they said it's a group. You don't need to bother yourself with all these like names and stuff, but just to understand how people are on many different levels. They said, no. Allah exists. They said, yes, Allah has names like As-Sami', Al-Basir, Al-Alim, Al-Hayy. We accept these names. But the descriptions? Allah, He is As-Sami'. He's the all-hearing, the all-seer, but He doesn't see. But He doesn't hear. He's Ar-Rahman, but He has no mercy. He's Al-Hakim, but He has no wisdom. So we believe in just the words, so we not became denier. We cannot deny the Quran, because part of what they say, we accept what Allah describes Himself. So accept the name, but we reject the meaning. And this is also ta'til. You're playing game with Allah. That's why ulama rahimahullah said it has to do, you have to accept the words and to accept what? The meaning of it. And you have also another group known as As-Sifatiyah. As-Sifatiyah, those who accept and believed in some of Allah's attributes, but they didn't accept the rest of them. And among them the Maturidi, the famous Maturidis, was Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, Shaykh Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, and the famous Ash'ari groups and the famous Kullabi groups, and all these groups, also they have this problem. They said, we accept, some of them said we accept 7, some said we accept 18, some we said accept more or less numbers, but the rest we cannot accept it. So they will come to, for example, to the mercy of Allah. They would say, yes, we accept Allah is Ar-Rahman. His mercy is not really mercy. His mercy, it means iradatul ihsan. It means one of these meaning that we accept, which is He intend to do good to people, but not the actual mercy. They can't take that. Said wisdom, power, not sure about that. They said it means ability, but it doesn't mean power. So they twist that meaning. That's no doubt partial ta'til as well. It's not like the first group. It's a partial denial to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described. The Ahlus-Sunnah, the way of Ahlus-Sunnah is different than this. The Ahlus-Sunnah said, we are consistent. Anything Allah describe Himself with it, we accept it. We don't make a distinguish. He said this about Himself, we accept it. So this is basically why Ibn Taymiyyah is saying this condition, because everybody claimed that they accept the Quran and Sunnah. But the reality is you have to accept it fully. Then he followed that by saying, also without tahrif, min ghayri takyif wala tamthil. He put the first two together and the second two together. He said also, if we accept them the way it is, don't ever think that accepting Allah's names and attributes will make Allah like us. No, He's not like us. If we say that Allah hears, sees, if we say that Allah speaks, if we say that Allah has mercy, it means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He basically give and takes, He come and to judge between people, He listens to people, He loves people. That doesn't make Him human. It doesn't make this quality like Him. That's why it's very important to know, min ghayri takyif wala tamthil. Takyif, he said, without questioning, I don't know where he got that questioning from, or shaping, not questioning. Takyif is not questioning. Takyif, it means without imagining a description for Allah. Because a takyif is to make Allah similar to something else. To make Allah similar to something else. So he said, he negating that. You cannot make Allah similar to something. If that's something else, something really exists in life, really exists in the world, we call this tamthil in Arabic language. If it is imaginary thing, we call this takyif. You see the difference? Takyif, it means you imagine something. If you say Allah, a'udhu billah, Allah's face is like the face of the human. That's tamthil, that's haram, that's kufr or shirk. But if you say, you know what, I'm going to imagine a face for Allah. It's not like human, I'm going to make up my own face and my own imaginary and say this belongs to Allah. That's also haram. That's why Salaf said, Sufyan al-Thawri, al-Awza'i, and the early scholars said, كُلُّ مَا خَطَرَ بِبَالِكَ فَاللَّهُ لَيْسَ كَذَلِكَ. Everything come in your imagination that this is Allah, Allah is different than that, for sure. And so Allah cannot be similar to anything exist or anything that you can imagine, even if it's not exist. Is that clear? Is that clear? In history, we do have people said that Allah is similar to His creation. And making Allah similar to His creation happen in two ways. Number one, by giving the creation the quality of Allah. So they make them similar. And who's famous? The most famous people in history did that. Christians. Gave Jesus the quality of divine qualities. That's right. So this is an example of that. Or someone will say, you know what? Abdul Qadir al-Jilani knows the unseen, knows the future, control the arzaq. He gave that human being, which is, he's not like, Al-Jilani is a great scholar, Hanbali scholars, rahimahullah, from Ahlus-Sunnah, but people claim this false thing about him. Or the Imams that the Shia respect and we respect as well. They are great people. You said that these Imams knows the future, control the world. That's you giving a human being that tamthil. But also tamthil can be the other way around. Is to give Allah some of the human's qualities. And the most famous group who did this in history, and alhamdulillah, they disappeared. They don't exist anymore. They were a very early group in Islam, and they were known to be among some Shia sects. And they ended. Even the Shia rejected that completely. But they were very early groups, as Al-Alusi rahimahullah categorized Shiism through history to 7 categories. He said that was the second category of them, who give some of the quality of human being to say. So, and those also Mujassima, they were not necessarily that they have a Shia ideology, but they have a Shia tendency at that time. Because Shiism never cared about theology until Al-Ma'mun time comes. All what they care about is politics at that time. Anyway, so there a man, his name Taqul Jinn. Okay? There is Al-Jawaliqi, Hashim Salim Al-Jawaliqi. These names in history, we know them, that they are among the first people who said Allah has for example, a face like a man. And they said, and he has legs, and he this, and he... Also, who is in history known before us who have this problem? Some Greeks, many people in history, they give some of the description of human to Allah. So they view Allah like human. Also, some people accuse some of the Jews of that as well in history. So it's either tamthil, it's either by making Allah, by giving Allah the descriptions of humans, or giving humans the description of Allah. Both ways goes. And both are haram in Islam, both are kufr, both are absolutely rejected. Guys, this idea of making tamthil of Allah, as you see, it is so ugly, it is so bad. That's why it was never popular. But why, if it's not popular, why we keep insisting about mentioning it? If it's not that popular, what's the point from bringing it up?
It leads to Tawhid.
Because العلماء said كل معطل ممثل وكل ممثل معطل. The ulama rahimahullah said, every person who denied Allah's names and attributes, he denied them because he made tamthil first. Why they said Allah doesn't have mercy? Why you think they said Allah doesn't have hand? He didn't create Adam with his hand. Why you think people said Allah's not above his throne? Because the moment he said that, what comes to his mind? If he's above his throne, it means he's sitting on the throne like the way I sit on my chair. So that means he needs his throne. That means he has this. That means he has that. If he speaks, that means he has what? Throat. He has a vocal cords. So what happened? They made Allah similar to the creation, and because of that, they said, no. They what? Rejected. So they made tamthil first, then they followed with ta'til, with rejection. You clear? Okay? So that's one. Also, those who made tamthil, who said Allah similar to His creation, they made ta'til. They basically free Allah from His true attributes. They rejected and deny the true attributes of Allah. Because Allah's hand is not like that. Allah's mercy is not like that. Allah's talk is not like that. So you actually rejected the actual attribute of Allah. So both in the reality end up the same. Is that clear? Is that clear? I'll say this one more time. So those who said that Allah, they rejected the verses. We call them mu'attilas, mit-ta'til. They rejected Allah's attributes and basically qualities. Why they rejected it? Because in their head it is similar to humanity. So because of that similarity, they imagine that led them to denying it. We say to them, hey, clean your head first. There is no need for you to see a similarity. Allah is not like His creation. So if you free yourself from that wrong belief and wrong view, that will not lead you to reject and to deny. If I can push my luck with you guys a little bit, I'll say that the mu'attila mumathila min wajhain. They made tamthil, double tamthil. They make Allah similar to His creation, double. Once in their head, when they imagine that His quality look like human, that's why they rejected it. But after they rejected Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's quality, they made Allah similar to the non-existing things. And that's in itself tamthil. That's too complicated. Don't worry about it. That's pushing my luck with you. I was saying that those who deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes, they ended up making Allah similar to what? To the non-existing things. Non-existent. Yeah, it's not, huh? Jinn are existed.
Yeah, but like that's kind of like unseen. So folks would say like,
Not existed at all. When they say Allah is exist? No, he's not exist. Is he alive? No, he's not alive. Is he speak? No, he doesn't speak. They made him like something not even exist. And no doubt, Tashbihullah, making Allah similar to the thing that does not exist or impossible to be exist, is worse than making him similar to something that does exist or possible to be exist. By the way, for those who benefit, it goes even uglier than this. Can you believe it? It goes more uglier than this. Ar-Razi, for example, which is all know how he is, on a great name, but Ar-Razi pushed it even to a level beyond your imagination. That's what made Ibn Taymiyyah furious at Ar-Razi. Because he came with this idea, Ar-Razi, and he wrote his book, and Ibn Taymiyyah is all about breaking that idea. Ar-Razi said, Allah is not even capable of having any quality. And he gave this example. He said it's like, would make any sense to you to say, this wall, do you say, this wall can see? It cannot see. So it doesn't have the quality of seeing. Denying the quality of seeing, it doesn't make this wall less. Because it's not capable of having that quality. So he said all these names, all these attributes that we deny, like wisdom, power, mercy, we don't deny it because we see less, because Allah is not capable of having it. It's like the wall is not capable of having these attributes. قال الله ليس بقابل الاتصال بهذه الصفات, which is even worse. You make Allah similar to the jamadat, to the basically to walls and rocks, and even that example itself is wrong, because this wall can hear, this wall can talk. It's not true, he said. But anyway, I'm trying to tell you how far you can go when you leave the Sunnah, even with all the knowledge that you have. But the aql, if you open that door, especially when it comes to Allah's names and attributes, you end up in a very dark hole. That's why Ar-Razi rahimahullah repented before he died from this. And he regretted going this far away. But he, rahimahullah, even advised to stay away from this kind of, approach to the names of Allah's attributes. Stick to what the Quran and Sunnah. It's simple. So if tomorrow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you, you said that I see? Yes, Ya Allah, you said in your Quran that you see. I'm safe. Safe sect. On the safe side. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He created Adam with His hand. He created Adam with His hand. I'm full stop. Don't go more or less. That's it. So that's Allah has a beautiful face, has a beautiful face. I don't know more than that. I stop where the Quran says. This area where you stop. If you learn how to do that, without going into destroying or denying or giving similarity or shaping the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will guarantee that you truly believe in the name of Allah the way it should be. And he mentioned a verse basically to make that clear. ليس مثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. And before this, Imam Malik rahimahullah once was asked how Allah is above His throne. He said, الاستواء معلوم. We know that Allah above His throne. والكيف مجهول. How is unknown to us. وفي رواية قال غير معقول. In one of the narration he said, and it is not, you cannot comprehend how He is above His throne. And by the way, just from very hadith perspective, غير معقول is more authentic than the other one. أثبت يعني من جهة الإسناد. So غير معقول, and not, you cannot comprehend that. والسؤال عنه بدعة, asking about how is bid'ah. Get out of my class. And he kicked him out. This is something like different culture as well. This is something was like maybe acceptable at that culture, but in our culture it's not acceptable. Just because someone asks you a question like that, you kick him out. So don't worry. So if somebody asks you, how come Allah descend in the last third of the night, while Australia have a different timing than America, than Egypt, than Pakistan. We said, how? We cannot comprehend how. We don't know how. We know that he does, but how? We don't know. Because that starts asking about how. How can Allah talk to people in the same time privately? How? We don't know. You know why? Because we don't know how he is. So that's why we know how his quality function. We don't know how. We don't know even how Al-Jannah and Nar function. We don't know how Jinn function. Can you? Wallahi, if it's not mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah there is Jinn, I would never believe in Jinn. But it's mentioned, otherwise it's impossible for me logically to imagine their existence. Either they are existent, living with us in another world, and like in my house and outside the house, and goes and comes, and taking this class without registration, I would never believe in their existence. But because Allah mentioned them and the Sunnah mentioned them, I believe in that. But as a you cannot, because I don't know how the nature of the jinn is. I never seen one, I never examined one.
Talk to many of them.
Yeah, doesn't give you. You don't know even how they talk. Do they have mouth? They have vocal cords? How they do it? You don't know. They're not something you can see. It is something very strange. Anything you don't know how it is, you don't know how it functions. That's right. Even in science, if you don't know how that in the nature of it, you don't know how it functions. So that's why I'm saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be ever seen like the way you see humans. So if ever somebody said, how come he has, how his mercy is, how his rida, how he's pleased, how he loves, we don't know how. How he will come, where he is when he comes, where he goes when he comes. When he comes with, it's like people start asking silly questions. If he comes, is that means the heavens will be above him? That's how. How? This is not up to you. It's up to him. We only know that he will come to judge between us. We only know that we will be in front of him. What you need to focus on, how you're going to meet Allah. That's the difference between Ahlus-Sunnah, how they believe, and that believing in these names and attributes the way they are inspire you. Come on, man. Alhamdulillah that I'm Sunni. Because if I can imagine, if I study any other Aqeedah than Ahlus-Sunnah, and I learn in it that Allah doesn't love, how I will ever connect to Allah? Or he has no mercy. Mercy, it means he reward. But what about the mercy itself? Mercy is something beyond the reward. Love is beyond just giving Jannah. It's rewarding you with it. If I don't have that feeling, that connection, how can my iman will be completely different? That's why, subhanAllah, the way you believe in the Ahlus-Sunnah Jama'ah, the way you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it leads for them to be so connected. They love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much, and that's what led the companion to love the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much. And then he mentioned these four things. You might say, where is this in the Quran? Where do you come up with these four things from? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Nothing similar to him, and he is السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ, nothing similar to him, that take care of the two things that we mentioned in the end of the statement. He mentioned four things. Number one is tahrif and ta'til, denying and distorting. Okay? And he said, without takyif and tamthil, to say Allah similar to this existing things, or to imagine something similar to Allah. So the last two, the takyif and tamthil, are rejected by saying laysa kamithlihi shay. Nothing is similar to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is none like him. There is nothing similar to him. For those who like Arabic kind of touches, laysa kamithlihi. Mithl, it means like or similar. But also mithl, it means sifah. It means nothing similar to his description. Where the word description came from? From the word mithl. طب similar came from the letter ka. يسمونها كا التشبيه. So ليس كمثله يعني ليس كصفته. So مثل in Arabic language means description, yes. ولله المثل الأعلى. Allah has the best description. فلا تضربوا لله الأمثال يعني الأوصاف. Do not. So the word مثل, it means description. So here's it. ليس كمثله شيء. Nothing similar to his descriptions. Nothing similar to his attributes. Are you following? Okay. So ليس كمثله شيء. Okay. كمثله. Some said nothing similar to it. Also, مثل, it could be like. There is nothing like him. If we say مثل, it means like. So the kaf here cannot be another like. Otherwise the talk will be there is nothing like him. Makes no sense much? Actually it does. Some scholar tafsir, they really debated over this issue a lot. They said al-kaf, most of them said al-kaf huna za'ida للتأكيد يسمونها صلة. It doesn't have any really meaning except an emphasis that this is Allah emphasizing here that it is nothing similar to him, absolutely nothing similar to him. But other ulama said no, it means there is nothing similar to what is similar to him. ليس كمثل ليس مثل مثله شيء. ليس مثل مثله شيء. وهذا قال به جماعة من المفسرين. A good number of mufassirin said that. They said that al-kaf, it means similar to what is similar to Allah. Those who rejected this interpretation, they said there is nothing similar to Allah, to say nothing similar to what is similar to Allah. They said that's as if indicate as if there is something similar to Allah. The first group who adopt this interpretation of the Quran, they said no, that's a way the Arab talk. The Arab talk and say there is nothing similar to what is similar to him is not to confirm that there is anything similar to him. It's a way in Arabic language to say there is absolutely nothing like him. It's like when Allah said in the Quran, لا أقسم بيوم القيامة. I will not make an oath with the day of judgment. It means I will make an oath. It's just how the way Arab talk. And they back up this is not a tafsir class, but they backed up this interpretation with many evidence and poetry and Arabic language. So both interpretation are very popular. And I'm saying this because if you ever study Aqeedah Al-Wasatiyyah, you'll find some shuyukh and some very strict about this. And they said you cannot ever adopt the other opinion, which it means kaf tashbih, it's wrong and it is confirmed that Allah. That's not true. That's not true. When I decided to do the class, I wrote my notes. So I unfortunately I didn't get enough time to give you all the references. But if you want, I do have some of these references, especially to this type of tafsir. But if you read any books of tafsir, like Ibn Jarir Tabari or another, you will find that debate known there. Al-Kaf, some people said Kaf cannot come at all like mithl. They said Kaf cannot be, it means mithl, which means similar or like. That's not true. Surah Al-Baqarah إيش؟ ثم قست قلوبكم من بعد ذلك فهي كالحجار يعني كمثل الحجارة. So Al-Kaf comes at Tashbih. It's not true. Some of the Mufassirin said, or Ahl al-Lugha قالوا, it doesn't come at all as Tashbih. That's not true. Anyway, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He is As-Sami' al-Basir. He is all hearer and seer. He sees and he hears. Okay? So Allah accept what Allah said with denying the similarity. So this as-Sami' al-Basir, to reject the concept of ta'til, to reject the concept of denying. And laysa kamithlihi shay', to basically reject the concept of making Allah similar to His creation. There is a question, al-ulama raise a question. Why Allah choose these two qualities? That He hears and He sees. ليش as-Sami' al-Basir? Why not al-Hayy al-Kareem? Why as-Sami' al-Basir in particular? Al-ulama rahimahullah said, one of the reasons that it is mentioned, could be, because Allah want to make a point to you. Most of the creations, they have the ability to hear and to see in many different ways, and so different from one another. We know the ant saw and heard and spoke about Sulaiman's army. And you hear and you see. Is the way you hear and you see similar to how the ants does? Sharks and fish, they see and they hear. Bat, they hear and they see in a completely different way than the way you hear and you see. That's right? That's right? Many things, we call it live or non-live. Hears and see. Cameras. Cell phones. If this place bugged by, by Libali Barak, bugged and people listen to what's in it. They hear it. They see it. And I hear and see. Guess what? Hears. And it will come to witness in the day of judgment. We'll say, Ya Rab, this person called the adhan. This تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها. How the earth hears, how the earth sees, how the earth will talk. So what Allah trying to tell you with all these things around you who have this commonality. There's a commonality between all of them. That's the common thing between them. They all hear, they all see, but all of them different than one another. So as well as Allah, He hears and sees in a way different than the creation. If you can see this different in a very clear way in the creation around you, you can also recognize that it can be applied to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and babi awla, make more sense. Yes, I will stop here, just give you a break. I don't want to. The next page we will need a sister to read, so if that's fine with you guys. Just to huh?
It's 4:55. Can we begin at 5? And we will go to Maghrib.
Yeah. We start at 5, shall. Yeah. We'll have a break for 5 minutes. That is exist, yeah. Denying. Okay. By the way, whoever want to read among the sister or brothers, I just want to change, give opportunity for many people to read. Otherwise, I like Mu'adh reading. And if you want one person to read, I don't mind. But I think having many different people to do would be better idea. But I want to switch between brothers and sisters. You don't need to read the Arabic. You can, if you don't feel comfortable, you can just read the English. And maybe I will read the Arabic quickly. So do we have someone to read from the sister side?
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Well, just let me just see who's going to read from the sister side. Anyone willing to read?
What's on the screen?
In the book. Page 4. Just each paragraph.
Same.
Okay, so
It's the same thing.
I'm gonna answer. I'm trying to do that. So, do not deny him, right? That's the one we're reading?
Yes.
Okay.
Just let me answer the question first, then we'll see. Yes.
So, Tafwid is essentially Ta'til.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the word tafwid. Tafwid, it means that I say, yes, ta'til, absolutely. Tafwid is the worst of all of them. Tafwid is to say, I don't know. To deny the knowledge of the meaning. So you say, Allah said that He has power. I don't know. Power. Is power means wisdom? I don't know. Is wisdom means life? Maybe. I don't know. Is when Allah said that He has hand, is that the same meaning that Allah said He, for example, loves? I don't know.
You still admit that it has a meaning.
They say it has a meaning, we don't know what it is. And we believe in words that carry no meanings to us.
That does not sound very intelligent response.
It is. They said it's like Alif Lam Mim. You don't know what it means? Just like that. It is so confusing. And this opinion is very famous. It's the Mufawwidah. A lot of, especially the Maturidi, take that position. They're so confused. So they said, why? They're so scared. You don't know, historically speaking, how sensitive these matter. You today can see it very simple. But if you lived in that time, it is so critical. So those people were like so worried because they see people deny, and there is people say there is similarity, and they see all this debate. So you know what? Just to be in society, I don't know. Just, you know what? I'm going to be in the safe position. That's why they think that they are in the safe side. Safe side, I don't know. Because what the problem of those people, their root is not the Quran and Sunnah. The Mufawwidah, their roots is not. The Mufawwidah, the roots coming from the Mu'awwila. They are the reactions to the people of Ta'wil. The people of Ta'wil, they came and they said, Allah's hand, they debate. It means power, or mercy, or ability, or it means generosity, or it means 5 different meanings. Then every group, no, it means this, no, it means that. The wisdom, the love, the anger, everybody fight, what that means. So this fight, and you know what, here, those people have faith, have iman, have respect of Allah, they have love of Allah. That's why they are all believers. We have no doubt about that. But because of that, they know how sensitive to speak about Allah. So they said, you cannot say that Allah meant by saying this, that. Because if you said He meant that, what is your proof that Allah meant that? They were worried that they're saying ala Allah bighayri ilm, they attributing something to Allah without knowledge. So they said, but if we approve it, we will become like the people who make tajseem, who make Allah similar to His creation. We cannot do that. So what's the only option we have? Is the option of giving it an interpretation. But these interpretations, some of them are not agreeable. Some of them is not something that I have proof to back it up. Some of them linguistically makes no perfect sense. You know what? So you know what? I'm so confused. I don't know. I will go with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. أكل العلم فيه إلى الله. منه آيات إيش محكمات وأخرى متشابهات. They said this is mutashabihat, and the people of ilm and knowledge, they said Allah knows what He means. The problem with this approach, as Ahlus-Sunnah said, guys, you know what that means? You making أعظم معلوم, the one who should be well known. How can you have iman and faith of someone that you know nothing about him? How can you turn Allah's attributes and how you turn this large number of verses in the Quran of description of Allah to say, I don't know really what it means? How can all this Al-Alim, Al-Hakim, Al-Sami', Al-Basir, how can you all these verses, when Allah say a verse in the Quran and He ended with a name or attributes to match the concept, to basically to make a point, how can you turn all this to Alif Lam Mim? Sad Qaf. Makes no sense. That's in reality ta'til. So here we say that this is another issue, another problem, which is called a Tafwid, which is also happened at certain time. And it happened because of that reason, because of that level of confusion and worry that I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to be involved. That's why Ahlus-Sunnah rahimahumullah have a great empathy for the groups. That's why Ahlus-Sunnah never made basically takfir or a'udhu billah, bad things for those ulama. They still recognize them as the great scholars. They have absolutely the best of intention. But we just debate this academically and as we debate it right now, and everybody can represent their argument. And we say that this is also unacceptable because that's not how the Quran is. And it's going to come. There is a part here will explain why this cannot be an acceptable methodology. That's not means I accept fully the Quran and Sunnah 100% the way it should be. Yes.
My question is regarding so I mean we have teachers who definitely subscribe to some of these ideas. How do we interact with them in terms of possible students, in terms of the idea of them, whether they've been full Ahlus-Sunnah or not, just to general advice?
I think we should avoid arguing. That's number one. Number two, I learn from everybody what they're good at. Well, I have a lot of my teachers who are very different in their beliefs than what I believe in. But I have nothing but mercy, but love, respect, appreciation, dua for them and admitting their greatness. You know, if you read the biography of Al-Hilli, who is, a'udhu billah, and he said evil things even about Aisha radiallahu anha, and he's a very extreme Shia, the one who Ibn Taymiyyah refuted in Hajj Sunnah. If you read his biography by Ibn Hajar, you will be surprised. Still Ibn Hajar rahimahullah show respect. And he said, with all what people said about him, كان من أكثر الناس عبادة وطواف وصلاة في الحرم. He was known to a person dedicated of great deal of ibadah, of salah, of tawaf in al-haram. That's something has value. Don't be like those people who said, all Khawarij, they pray so much. That's different. This Khawarij the hadith was specific groups for a specific. We still have to recognize the goodness in everyone. You know? And if we recognize this with the Jews and Christians and Buddhists and a'udhu billah, people who fundamentally in the basics of Islam, we still have respect and have friends and we have, talk and mercy and benefit from each other. So as well as the ulama. If you look at the ulama of Islam, there's so many of them have many different ideas and beliefs and things that maybe you don't agree with. But still we learn from them. So the main thing is we avoid argumentation because the issue of Aqeedah, the problem with Aqeedah is very hard if you raise certain way to change later on. Most of the people who come into this basically Aqeedah issues and problem and Wasatiyyah especially, it's because that's how they were raised from the beginning. So they don't really question. It became something and they don't care much about it. But whenever they start thinking critically, they criticize it. They oppose it. So that's will be my advice. Yes, sister, go ahead and read.
Do not not deny him the way he has
You can use the microphone so the people in the online. Okay, much better.
Do not deny him.
Can I just read the Arabic text first? فلا ينفون عنه ما وصف به نفسه ولا يحرفون الكلم عن مواضعه ولا يلحدون في أسماء الله وآياته ولا يكيفون ولا يمثلون صفاته بصفات خلقه لأنه سبحانه لا سمي له ولا كفء له ولا ند له ولا يقاس بخلقه سبحانه وتعالى. That's how we read actually in classes. That's how the way we, like in traditional way of reading, that's how we read. At least in Saudi Arabia, that's how we raised too. So I'm not trying to make it up, but this just comes naturally. But this is very like a style of, that's a culture thing. It has nothing to do with all this. I don't know, the ulama in the old days used to do that. But that's how my scholars and the shuyukh, and that's how we raised to read. And also in Mauritania, that's how they read as well. Some culture, they do that. They don't do that in Egypt usually. Yeah, go ahead, sister.
Do not deny him the way he has described himself. Do not change words from their context. Do not disbelieve the names of Allah and his signs. Do not exemplify his attributes with the attributes of his creatures, because Allah, the Exalted, has no likeness. There is none comparable to him. There is none equal to him. The Exalted, the Supreme, is not measured by his creatures. Indeed, he best knows himself and others. He is all truthful, and his speech prevails over the speech of his creatures.
Very good. The new word that he used here is لا يلحدون. Okay? Which it means they, how he translate that? They do not exemplify his attributes with attributes. No. Do not disbelieve the names of Allah and his sign. لا يلحدون في أسماء الله وآياته. Sign is not a very good translation. If it's me, I will translate it, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, or his words. Okay, not signs, his words. Ayati here, it means words. It means the verses in the Quran. So signs is not a right translation. Signs. So here he said yulhidun. They translated to disbelieve. Al-ilhad comes from al-lahada, which it means mala, when you go astray. Okay, that's why we call lahd. You know lahd? In the grave? Why we call it lahd? Anybody knows how lahd works? Lahd, it's a way of burying people. So let's say this is the grave. Okay? This is the grave. So you go down, you have the grave. So you go like this. Here what we do, we put the dead, this is like this, that's right? That's not lahd. Lahd is to make a hole on this wall, like this. You make a hole. And the size like a triangle, rectangle. Okay? Then you put the body in it. So when you go down, tamil. You basically you deviate from going down all the way down. You basically go to the left. So ilhad, it means you basically leave the way. So instead of going all the way down, you just go a little bit, then you go to the left, and you make a hole, and you put the body like this. That's the sunnah to bury people. Then you close it. Then you close the grave. That's how the sunnah to do that. Yeah, you close the lahd, then you pull that hole, you fill it up with sand. So he said yulhidun, it means they deviate, okay, from his names and his attributes. With that, this came in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا وَذَرُوا الَّذِينَ يُلْحِدُونَ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ. Leave those who deviate from his names. How you deviate from his name? Number one, by denying them. The ilhad is to disbelieve by denying them. Like for example, the kuffar said, we don't accept Ar-Rahman as a name. They reject that name, Ar-Rahman. So that's ilhad. Also, one of the deviation of it is not to worship Allah through that name. So you know that Allah is the most merciful, but you have no mercy. You know that Allah is just, but you have no justice. You have Allah is generous, but you're not generous. Okay? So that's one of the ilhad in the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Part of ilhad of deviation is to give the names of Allah to some of His creation. And to give the quality of Allah to some of His creation, like the way they did to Jesus, the way they did to some of the creation of Allah. Give Him the quality, like ilmul ghaib, like know the unseen, the forgiveness, the right to make dua to sacrifice animal to. And believe me, there is people really give that. They believe that there is people harm and people benefit with Allah. And they believe that those dead have this power. And I always give example of a friend who was in Egypt. So he was traveling from a village, it's called Tanta. It's a small city in Egypt, between Cairo and Alexandria. Tanta has a very famous shrine for a person, his name is Sayyid al-Badawi. There's about 2 million people make Hajj to that shrine. Okay? So it's a very famous, even in history you read about it. Even in history they said, like if you read Al-Jabartis and read some of them scholar, they said, I made Hajj that year to the grave of Al-Badawi and I met so-and-so. So people go to Hajj, they call that Hajj. Anyway, so this is a true story. Just to give you an example. So he said, somebody came to beg for money. So I give them 5 janneh. So the lady saw him, tourist, or whoever asked him money, and then she said, can you give me more? I ask you by, she said, Billah alayk, I ask you by Allah to give me, to help me. He gave her 5 janneh. Then she said, okay, how about if I ask you with Al-Badawi to give me more? So Allah 5 janneh, so Badawi maybe get more? So he got angry, my friend, the brother, and he took back the 5 janneh. And he said, when you ask me by Allah, I gave you. You ask me by other than Allah, nothing. He closed the window. The taxi driver who stopped, he said, I can't drive. He said, why? He said, this road, it's a country road, Zara'i. It's not safe. And you just made him angry. He said, Wallah, my friend said, I asked him, who? He said, Al-Badawi. You just insulted him. I said, no, I didn't. I was trying to protect Allah's right, that He has the higher right. I'm trying to teach her a lesson. She said, no. He said, no, I cannot drive. I would never feel safe in the road because I don't have the blessings of Him. You just tell me, if this is not ibadah, what is it? I'm not judging the person or passing judge. I'm just judging the action itself. If this is not, what is this? That's the khashya bil ghaib. That's the fear. That's the essence of the ubudiyyah. That's when your heart is completely submitted and dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know that He controls you. Yes, the ignorant person will excuse him in front of Allah because he's ignorant. But it's not about the person, it's about the concept. When your heart is so attached to other than Allah to that level, that's the dangers of the issue here. So, part of al-ilhad fi asma'illah, when you give that quality of Allah to someone else that deviate you, attach your heart to other than Allah. That instead of begging and praying to Allah to give you the walad, to give you the children, you find yourself, you're praying to a dead person to give you the child. Or you attach your heart to someone else who will benefit you, or someone else might harm you. And you can go, or you feel that someone control your rizq, control your victory, control your future. That's unacceptable in any form or any shape. So that's a deviation, that's in form of the ilhad in asma'illah wa sifat. Also among the ilhad, I'll take your question in just a minute. Part of the ilhad of asma'illah and ayati, the ulama said that you deviate from it, that you don't pray to Allah with these names anymore. You don't just call him, you just don't pray to Allah. That's a form of ilhad, which is rejecting, which is denying. Also another form that the ulama rahimahullah said, from the ilhad, that they linked Allah's name to the idols. So they said Allah's name Al-Aziz comes from the idol Al-Uzza. Okay? So they link that. They said Allah comes from Al-Lat. Okay? And that's ilhad. A part of it in modern, later on in history of Islam, people said Allah comes from alaha, which it means tahayyara, confused. They said al-ilaha, it means tahayyur, which is linguistically make no sense, no connection, but just made up this connection. And they said al-ilah huwa alladhi tatahayyar fihi al-uqul, the one that people are confused about him, or can't be clear about him. So that's ilhad fi asma Allah, is to bring meaning or to bring roots to the name of Allah which has no basis. So all this Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they will never do when it comes to the name of Allah. So beside to what you heard earlier, he now bringing you another issue, which is the issue of ilhad. And the same thing that we said about Allah's names apply to the verses of the Quran. They don't reject the verse. They don't twist the meaning of the verse. They don't empty it from its meaning. They don't make it connected to meaning which is not related to the Quran at all, and so forth. Then he followed that by saying, وَلَا يُكَيِّفُونَ وَلَا يُمَثِّلُونَ. Yes, what's your question, brother?
That's why we call an atheist, we call it mulhid.
Very good. Yeah, mulhid, because he deviated from the iman. Excellent. Al-hada, yani he left the way of iman to the kufr. No, these are different levels. So they are darakat. Yes. Somebody else was the question. Yes.
I was going to say, so why is there's even some Muslims or Muslim sects that's, worshipping the grave or worshiping the grave, or how do they get the justification?
How can people get justification of worshipping these graves? And they don't say we don't worship it. Most of the people who do that today, they believe that the soul of Al-Hussein or the soul of Al-Badawi or whatever it is, it can intercede for you in front of Allah. So they believe that these souls or those dead people are righteous, and they are and they are intercessor kind of. Basically, that's what. So they think that this is not shirk. The root of this problem goes back to what is La ilaha illallah means. So if you believe La ilaha illallah, it means to believe that He's the only creator, He's the only giver, He's the only one control, who's the one who gives life and death. They said praying through these shrines does not contradict this belief. Because we believe He's the only one He's the only one give life and death, He's the only one provide. Those are just means to reach to Him. So I never negate that concept. So for them, there is no contradiction between La ilaha illallah and their actions. For Al-Sunnah Jama'ah, they said, no, La ilaha illallah, it means there is no one worthy of worship. You cannot do an act of worship to other than Allah. You cannot do any act of worship. And ad-du'a is an act of worship. Al-istighatha is an act of worship. And all this belong to Allah, to His hand. And you cannot give it to anyone else. And no matter you see Him as a partner or an intercessor or whatever. And they have the whole entire evidence behind that. How the mushrikeen used to believe in the gods of their gods. Not all of them believe that they are gods. They create the heavens and earth and they control the rizq. So that's where the debate is. And again, I always say, it's mansura. The haqq is very clear. Here he said, basically, they do not make takyif nor tamthil. We talked about that. Basically, they do not attribute or exemplify his attributes with the attributes of his creation, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the exalted, has no likeness to him. Okay. وَلَا نِدَّ لَهُ. Also, that he have no nid. وَلَا كُفْءَ لَهُ. وَلَا يُقَاسُ بِخَلْقِهِ. All these words in Arabic language have the same meaning almost. Kuf, nid, sami, nothing similar to him, nothing like him. All these words are similar. فهل تعلم له سميا يعني مساميا مماثلا. لم يكن له كفوا أحد, has no kuf, يعني nobody like him. ومن الناس ما يتخذ من دون الله أندادا. Nid, it means مثل أو نظير لله سبحانه وتعالى. Okay, so all these are just a way of saying that there is nothing similar to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why there is nothing similar to Allah? Why cannot we say Allah is similar to His creation? Somebody asks you this question, how would you refute? How would you answer this? Why cannot say Allah is similar to His creation?
Allah said so.
Huh?
Allah said so.
Because Allah said so. Perfect. Number one. Number two. Yes? Because creations and creations are, yeah, why? Creations are perfect, imperfect, and Allah is perfect. So if you say similar, that means He's not perfect, He's not complete, because none of us is perfect, none of us complete. None of the creation is 100% complete and perfect. So He cannot be similar. Why cannot we say that He is similar to this or similar to that? Because also another reason, another simple fact. If I want to tell you that if you want to know about anything that you haven't seen in your life, and you want to know how it looks like and how it is, there is only one of three ways to find out. Number one, to see it, which it didn't happen. Number two, can you tell me? Somebody that you trust describe it to you. That's right. I have a truck. Okay? What kind of truck? What type of truck? What color of the truck? What size of it? I can tell you, oh, I have, for example, Ford F-250. It's diesel. It is. I don't have that car. No, I'm just saying. Okay, 250, no. Okay, it's diesel. It is like brown. It is King Ranch. It is whatever, style. So I describe to you, but you have to be what? Somebody you can trust. That's right. So if somebody asks you, what is Shaykh Waleed's car? You can tell him how it looks like, because you heard Waleed and you trust Waleed. Is that clear? The third way is to see something similar to it. Day and night you see these ads in the TV about the F-250 cars, so you're very familiar with it, so you can describe it because you have seen something similar to it. That's right? Question. Let's apply any other way? No, you have 3 years to think about that. Okay? You will not find any other way. Okay? There is no other way to figure out. There is the only 3 ways to know the unseen. See it, see something similar to it, or someone you trust tell you about it. Let's now apply this to Allah's attributes. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have we seen Allah? No. Have we seen anything similar to Allah? Because there is nothing similar to Him. So what's the only door left? The description. Did Allah or His Messenger ever told us how He looked like? No. Did He ever told us how His hand looks like? How His mercy works? How His love is? How His nature is? No. He only told us that He has mercy, He has this, He has that. He gave us just descriptions. So that's why we say anyone will come up with an idea or imaginations or say that he is like that or like this, we say this is lie, this is dhann bil ghaib, this is unacceptable. It's like me trying to guess, for examples, what is Shaykh Abdullah Hernandez's car is. I have no clue what he drives. And if I say something now, I will just make a fool of myself. But by knowing that he lives in Pearland, it must be a nice car. Okay? Yeah. So, this is basically, you will basically guessing. So that's why this door is closed. The door of tamthil. You cannot. That's why any person make tamthil, he is a liar. He's lying. His attribute, يقول على الله بغير علم. He attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with no knowledge. طيب. One of the things that allowed you to think about Allah or to describe Him is qiyas. To say He is similar to this. Like I said, you see something similar to Him. That's why He said in the end, وَلَا يُقَاسُ بِخَلْقِهِ. He said, rahimahullah, and you cannot, he said, and he is not measured by his creation, by the creatures, by his creatures or creation. So no qiyas. What's qiyas means? Analogy. Can anybody make qiyas? Give me an example of qiyas. F-150 is like what? But what is the qiyas?
All the trucks.
Okay, so the issue is, I want to talk about, is F-150 a truck or not? That's the question. So I made qiyas to make my point. I said, since F-150 is like Dodge Ram, which is not, but I'll agree. Okay, it's like a Dodge Ram. So that means, and they are similar. So that means it is what, and Dodge Ram for sure is a truck. So that means F-150 is what? So that's the qiyas. You got it? So the qiyas is, I want to prove a point. The point is F-150 a truck or a sedan? So Haytham will say, F-150 is a truck. What's your proof? The proof is that F-150 is similar to Dodge Ram, which is established to be what? A truck. So the qiyas is, since they are similar, so they take the same rule. That's the whole qiyas. That's one of the qiyas. The qiyas have many different formats, but this one of them. We call this qiyas al-tamthil. Okay? Qiyas al-tamthil, similarity. The tundra. Okay, so when we okay, so when we go and say that, that's qiyas. Question: when you make qiyas, if I told Haytham, I don't know what Dodge Ram is.
Imagination.
Imagining, okay. But if I don't have knowledge of it, can this qiyas be established? No. If he told me, okay, not Dodge Ram. If he want to prove that F-150 is a truck, he said F-150 is a truck. Why? Because it is similar to the Barambalul. The Barambalul.
What's that?
Barambalul is a truck. So that, can I make this qiyas? No, I can't, because Barambalul is not a word that it means anything. You know what's so funny? Once I was teaching a class and I made up a word like this, Barambalul. And somebody from, I don't know which country in Africa, but it was a word actually in their own language. In Somali, Swahili, but not Barambalul, one word. And it was so funny because everybody was laughing, the Somali community. They were laughing so much. They said, Shaykh, you know what that means in our country? I said, no. He said, cockroaches or something like that. That was very funny. I made up the word at that time. Like, anyway, so this Barambalul is unknown. So that's why I cannot make qiyas into it. One of the conditions of qiyas, you have to know both. Can you make qiyas with Allah? No, because we don't know how He is. That's why every qiyas to Allah is unacceptable. Except one form of qiyas. With His creation, with His creation. So if I ever debate Ibn Taymiyyah, I will pick on this word. There's one form of qiyas Al-Quran used between Allah and His creation. We call this قياس الأولى. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. Al-awla, it means a prior. What that means, I give you example from just general talk. If I say, traveling from Houston to Austin by bicycle faster than walking to Austin. Agreed? Good? طيب. Driving to Austin is faster than riding a bicycle to Austin. Agreed? What is the third point? Driving is faster than walking. You got it? Makes sense? Perfect. We call this a prior analogy. You know, the technical term for it. A prior basic analogy. Called قياس الأولى, which it means, it's simple, that's right. Do I need to repeat it or you got it? I'll say, bicycle is faster than walking. Driving is faster than using bicycle, riding bicycle. So that means driving is faster than walking. Clear? So they said that type of qiyas can apply between Allah and His creation. An example, very well. Al-ulama rahimahullah said, or you will see, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he came to these gods that they worshipped and he destroyed them. And he told them he wants to prove now that they are not God. And he said, ask them if they talk. See if they, ask the big guy there if he can tell you what happened. If you're not capable of defending yourself, if you don't have power, if you don't speak, if you don't see that is something bad on you as a creation or a human being, it means also it is the worst when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you have to free the human being from this bad quality, you should free Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from it as well. If you say knowledge is a good thing to have, so Allah must have even knowledge better than your knowledge. This type of qiyas al-awwalillahi al-mathalu al-a'la, Allah has always the highest of example, the highest of example or quality. طيب. أولى الأعلى, it's all what same. Okay, so you might say, but one of the conditions that they said, العلماء, they said, this must be something that absolutely perfect. Like absolutely perfect. So كل صفة كمال كل صفة كمال يتصف بها المخلوق كل صفة كمال مطلق يتصف بها المخلوق فالخالق أولى بها. Every perfect quality, absolutely perfect quality, applied to human or to creation, Allah must have this quality. Otherwise, He will be free from perfection. That's something that they said. This is just going intangible. Just as a pick on the word لا يقاس. But you have to pay attention. It has to be absolutely perfect. Question. Who is, so if we say, who is better? The one who sees or the one who can't see? Who sees. The one who hears or the one who cannot hear? Hears, higher level. Absolutely. That's why Allah SWT sees and hears from awla. Prior to that. Okay? Type question. Who's better? I know it's sensitive, so excuse me if that became sensitive to some of you. Or which one is higher level? The one who pair children and can produce children, or someone who's aqib, cannot pair children? No doubt, the person with children of family, it is a higher level than the person who cannot have. It's a higher level. That's right. Which one is better? The one who can't eat or someone who eating? Who's better? The one who have a job or the one who doesn't have a job? I don't know about that. The one who sleeps or the one who don't sleep? Insomnia. Which one? Sleep. So if somebody says, Shaykh Waleed, I prove to you that your rule doesn't apply. That's right? No. You have no point. Why? Because I said it has to be صفة كمال مطلق. It has to be absolutely perfect quality. Having children is not an absolute perfection. You only better with children because you need children. You only better when you eat because you need the food. You only better when you sleep because you need the sleep. And need in itself, it's not a perfect description. It means you're in need of something. That's why Allah doesn't eat. That's Allah doesn't have, children, doesn't have a wife, doesn't have, a partner, because He doesn't need that. But human beings, because they need it, that's what makes them perfect. Because human beings never are perfect, actually. So you see what I'm saying? So still this rule is absolutely correct, and it is something not, I couldn't find any thing to really oppose it. And I took that, this is Ibn Taymiyyah himself, he said that, rahimahullah. But anyway, the point here that Ibn Taymiyyah he cannot be made analogy between him and his creation. So don't ever think of Allah like what I said. Somebody denied that Allah speaks because he made analogy. He said Allah speak, so must He need tongue? He must need vocal cords. He made this analogy between Allah, and that's wrong. Don't make this analogy. Allah is completely different than His creation, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if this is the case, why we said we have to submit the Quran to the Sunnah, to submit to what came in them from the description of Allah. Number one, because Allah is not similar to His creation. So that means we have to submit to Allah and not to make this qiyas to reject. Number two, because huwa a'lamu bi nafsih, because He knows Himself better than others. And that's the next paragraph. That's the second explanation why, or justification, why we should absolutely submit. Can you read? Then? Okay, yeah, bismillah. When we come back, it'll be good point to end.
Allahu Akbar.